What's going on, everybody? This is Gary B. Jr., and today we're going to talk about how to show the next verse when you're using the stage display and showing scriptures in FreeShow. Um, I've gotten some questions in the past asking about how to make the stage display show the next verse. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go into our stage settings here, and I'm going to activate. Let's see here. This is which one? This is the test outputs. So it's got a current slide, a next slide, and then generic stuff here. Okay, so we're going to activate this one. It's called test outputs as my stage display. So I'm going to go to my settings and just ensure in my outputs that my stage is set to test outputs. I can see it there. So we're good to go. You can see a list of all of your other outputs. So you might need to just change your outputs here if you need to. This is where to go: settings and then outputs. And you'll be able to see the different output stage displays you got for your stage layouts by selecting your stage output down here. And I've got a few others. I got a live stream output, a primary. Those are just regular outputs. They're not stage outputs. I've only got one stage output, and you can tell by this little icon here that looks like a little computer monitor or TV monitor right next to it. And then that checkbox means that it's active. If I select this up here to disable it, you'll see that checkbox go away, but that little video or monitor icon is still there. All right, so I'm going to enable it back again. All right, so it's there. And let's talk about how to make it show the scriptures that we want, because there's a couple things that happen here. So first off, you can literally go into FreeShow and you can actually select scriptures without ever starting an actual show. I don't have to open up a project. I can simply double click a verse down here and it shows up. All right. And this is verse 4. So if I click here, it shows verse 5. Let's see here. I'm not getting an option for the main one. So let's go back to our stage real quick. I've got an icon or setting here that it is losing. So let's go to conditions. Show item if text is not empty. So we're going to just remove this condition. We'll close that out, and I'm just going to click this to make that go away. And we'll go to another show, another scripture. And now you'll see that we got both of our verses here. So we got current slide text and we got next slide text. They both are showing up here simply by going down and double clicking the actual verse, which is great. And I've got a default setting for my verse or my scripture is down here as the big verses. So you can see that there as well. The other way you can let it show your next verse. So what I had to do though is I had to have a current slide text and I had to have a next slide text in my stage display. All right. So how did I get that? So let's delete these. Let's delete that. And let's go to our items and let's see how we did it. So slide text is our output. We want to output the slide text. So we click slide text and that pulls up an option for our current slide by default. All right. That's fine. But we also want another item for our next slide. So I'm going to click the same button, slide text again, and notice what happens. It automatically defaults to making it be next slide text. All right, I'm gonna make them line up. And so current slide is here, next slide is here. You see Genesis 1 verse 7, and this is verse 8. All right, so it automatically does that for you from the items when you select the option for output to say slide text and you hit it again, it'll give you your current first and then it'll make it be the next slide. If I wanted to see the slide after that, I can delete this and delete this, and I can select another items or another item from the items tab here and call it slide text again. And it gives me verse 9. All right. So we can see all these different verses that are coming up. And I say all, these two different verses that are coming up. And I'm going to pull it to where they're not overlapping. All right. And it's by default that you can do that. So we got the current slide, the next slide, and the one after that. So 7, 8, and 9 are showing up in this particular stage display of the scriptures. And you can customize this. So I can click on that and I can make the background of it be a little bit different for the one that we're currently reading Maybe we want that one to be orange. I wouldn't do that. But this one, we want this one to be yellow. So we'll go to that and make it be yellow. And then we'll make this one stay black, right? You can do these kind of things. I wouldn't recommend that particular layout, but that's a way that you can differentiate for those on the stage. I'm going to go back and make those go away because they can be distracting you. That's the last thing you want for your stage display is for it to be distracting. All right. So we can do it that way by simply going down and selecting our verses. All right. The other way that we can do this is we can select all these verses and I can just right click and say select all, right click again and say convert to a show. When I click that, it says, okay, max verses per slide. I want it to be one and then split reference. You can turn that on or off and then reference on first slide. You can activate or deactivate that as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and select convert to show. And notice here, now I've got a show. This shows all those verses. If I were to click the very first one, it'll show Genesis chapter 1, 1 through 31, and then this is verse 2, and this is verse 3. This is how you would show this particular content in terms of scriptures on your stage display in another way. So you can literally make it from a show. All right. Now, some people have said they don't want this gap here to show up. So it's got the reference and in terms of the actual scripture, chapter and verse, along with the reference of the Bible that it's coming from. So let's look and see if there's a way we can alleviate that. Um, and we got some options here. So verses on individual lines, that's fine. We've got split verses, split long verses. I'm sorry. We got that. You can do that as well. Verse numbers, show reference, and then we got these little drop downs here. So you got show version, and then you can say combine with text. All right. So you can do, so this is a place where you can actually adjust how the reference and the version are shown. So I've got the reference first, and then I've got the version. If you want it to be the other way around, you can literally select this, copy, paste it above it or next to it, however you want to. But this option that says combine with text, right? I'm going to deselect and I'm just going to click this here. And notice what happens when I click that now, you'll see that the combine with text moves the verse and the reference and the version, I should say, below to the bottom of the stage view, while here it puts it at the bottom, but it moves it up with the text as well. So that's a way to get rid of that gap that you see. Now, if I go back here though, notice that these verses did not convert because when I made that show, that was not activated to combine with the show. So if I wanted to activate that for all these verses again, I would need to right click and select all, right click and convert this to a new show. Okay, so now I hit convert show. And now when I click it, you'll see that the combine with text is there. All right. And that's just referencing our stage view and understanding how it works and what it does with scriptures, particularly with showing your next scripture, but also arranging your scriptures in your stage view as well. All we did is we selected this option that says combine with text. Now, personally, I don't prefer that because I do like the look of it being here. Now, if you wanted to, you can actually flip that to where when you do combine with text, you can move it uh, from being at the bottom and keep it at the top if you wanted to. That's fine. I just don't like it being directly connected with my slides for the audience to see in this way. Okay. But if you're only showing these scriptures for the people on stage, then that might make sense and it's completely fine to do something like that. All right. Now, let's go here. If I right click on this and we say specific outputs, you can make your verses go to a specific output and just go to your stage output if you wanted to. Right. So if I said, that only is going to go to the stage output. And this is verse 3. So I go back to my show and I go here and we go here. Notice that nothing shows up here, but the people on stage are able to see verse 3 and verse 4 and verse 5, just like we saw or said earlier. All right. So you can do some things like that with your scriptures. And that's just by right clicking in the text box and going to specific outputs and then selecting if there's a certain output you wanted to go to. And in this case, I selected the stage output and that was done that way. Now I'm gonna deselect that because I don't necessarily want that to be the case for that particular setup, I wanted to all show for the people in house and the people on the stage. So everybody can see the current verse in house, and then the person on stage can see the next two verses as well. All right. So if you have any other questions about arranging your scriptures or using your scriptures with a stage display or in your shows or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. But this is how you would actually adjust your next scripture text in FreeShow. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Talk to you later.